Allow me first of all to welcome past RI President John Germ, our District Governor Lyle Chase, past District Governor Milton Innes, and any other PDGs, our District Governor-elect Sonia Allen. I'm not sure if our DGN is with us, but any others in the District Governor family. Our speakers all the way from Philadelphia, we have Rotarian Owen, and from the ABC Islands, Rotarian Rita. We have with us, I believe, our newest regional grants officer from Rotary International, Renee Railing. So I hope she has been able to join us. And of course, to all of our Rotarians, our Rotaractors, our guest potential Rotarians, special welcome to all of you on behalf of the foundation team to what really is, I think, going to be a very important and interesting conversation. So let's get straight into it. Paddy is controlling our technology, as you know, with great expertise. We don't mess about with the technology in District 7030. So we do have to give a shout out to Sean, Paddy, and the technical and PR team for all the great work they've been doing, not just today, but over the last few months with our online learning and webinars and meetings. So my thanks to you all. Welcome from a very rainy port of Spain, and of course, Shubh Diwali to all the Hindu members of our Rotary family. It is a wonderful celebration for us, a festival of lights. And I think just being Rotarians is really a mission to bring light and joy and prosperity into people's lives, all of which of course are symbolized by Diwali. So Shubh Diwali to all. So I'm going to first of all invite our District Governor Lyle to open our proceedings today, as he will introduce our keynote speaker, past RI President John. Over to you, District Governor Lyle.
Thank you so much, past District Governor Lara. Past Rotary International President John, it's such a pleasure to see you with us. Thank you for making the time to join us. I'm going to say thank you also to our grants chair, Lara, and our foundation chair. All these acronyms a little bit too much for me. So our foundation chair, Milton, for putting this together. DRFC, it would come to me eventually. Renee, I see you on the screen, so it's wonderful to meet you here as well. And I see past District Governor Case. Welcome, Case. And David Edwards has just popped onto the screen as well, past District Governor David Edwards. And guys, that's who I can see. I can see Governor-elect Sonia. She's got a wonderful blue background. And guys, remember, we're wearing blue today because today is Diabetes Awareness Day. So we're all wearing blue. At least we have some blue in our colors. So having wasted a bit of time, Lara, I'm sorry. John Germ was Rotary International's president for the year 2016-17. That was just the other day. And his motto, his theme was Rotary Serving Humanity. And John is the embodiment of service to humanity. I have to say that John Germ will go down in history as a Rotarian who is truly a humanitarian. As the vice chair and fund development for Rotary's International Polio Plus Committee, he led Rotary's $200 million challenge, a fundraising effort in which Rotary raised more than $228 million towards a $355 million challenge grant from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In 1965, after 4 years in the US Air Force, John, an engineer, joined Campbell & Associates, Inc., an engineering consulting firm. He now serves as the company's board chair and chief executive. Rotary creates leaders, my friends. So John has shown you that he has started and has become the leader of his firm. He also serves on the boards of several organizations, including the Public Education Foundation, Orange Grove Center, Inc., and the Blood Assurance, Inc. He is the founder and treasurer of the Chattanooga State Technical Community College Foundation and is president of the Tennessee JC Foundation. In 1970, He was recognized as Tennessee Young Man of the Year, Engineer of the Year, and Volunteer Fundraiser of the Year in 1992. John has always made time to serve his community, his most notable accomplishments being his work with the disadvantaged, as well as physically and mentally challenged individuals. In 1981, John led the effort to build Camp Discovery, a special designated camp for those with mental and physical disabilities. He also spearheaded a $7 million campaign to raise funds for Orange Grove Center, a school for the mentally challenged. These funds also helped construct a residential rehabilitation center, residences, a physical therapy area, and recycling center. A member of the Rotary Club of Chattanooga, Tennessee, USA, since 1976, John has served Rotary as president, vice president, director, foundation trustee, and vice chair, chair of Rotary's $200 million challenge, as I said before, and RI President's Aide. He is a recipient of Rotary's Service Above Self Award and the Rotary Foundation Citation for Meritorious Service and Distinguished Service Award. He and his wife, Judy, are members of the Arch Club Society. My friends, my family of Rotary, it is my great honor to introduce past Rotary International President, John Jerm.
There we go. Thanks very much, Lyle, for that kind introduction. It's always a pleasure to visit with clubs and districts, and it's a pleasure to be here today, even though we are doing this virtually, as we know our lives since March have changed drastically with the way we do business as Rotarians, the way we do business in our individual careers and everything. And I'm glad I retired in 2009, so I don't have to worry about some of this stuff now. I can stay home and do Rotary on video here. So, but I was asked today to, Milton asked me if I would talk a little bit about polio. Well, polio is very dear to me, as well as is a lot of Rotarians around the world. But I think we need to go back in history a little bit and just think about where are we at today. And where did we start with, not only in polio, but can you imagine being on an airplane and you're flying from one of your visits as a president, and up until 1978, we only worked in our communities. We never looked outside to see how big this fabulous world is. We thought about what did we need to do to make our communities better. And here's an individual that read about Time magazine and read about how that smallpox had been eradicated. And don't get scared, Lyle, but he called one of his district governors and said, is there something of this magnitude that Rotary could do? So can you imagine thinking about building park benches or outhouses in Chicago and doing Thanksgiving food and Christmas baskets and clothing and all this, and then all of a sudden you're saying, why don't we expand this? Why don't we think larger? Why don't we think what else we can do? And Sir Clem Renoff was that individual, and unfortunately, we lost him this year. He didn't quite make it to see his dream come true, but I'm sure he's looking down at us now and thinking about, oh, they have gotten so close. Can we not just get this over with? Rotary decided, after a lot of conversation, a lot of dividing within the board and the trustees and the council, they decided they would take this on. And they thought that they could do this for $760,000 and that they would in fact put out proposals. Just like you do for a grant now, they would say, we got a $760,000 fund. We will provide a grant, accepted proposals. And because of the in-depth of that proposal, they chose to do the Philippines. And the commitment was, is they would provide the money to buy the vaccine and to vaccinate 6 million children. 6 million children in the Philippines. So it was somewhat of an isolated island structure, so therefore they could be sure and contain it of what they were doing. They had the support of the government in the Philippines. They had the support of the Rotarians in the Philippines, the health minister, all those type people that were there. But they decided before they would do that, though, he called James Bomar. James Bomar was going to be the president for 79 and 80. And he said, we can't do this in 1 year. Can we, in fact, are you going to support me? Are you going to continue it on? Can you imagine that conversation going on, the continuity that had to be involved? Well, they agreed. So Rotary had the money. Rotary had the project after they evaluated the proposals. And now then, Rotary was on its way. That project was finished. After 3 years, there were no more cases in the polio in the Philippines. So Rotary said, why don't we try to do this all around the world? So they went to the World Health Alliance in 1982. In 1982, the World Health Alliance said, we don't work with non-governmental organizations. We don't believe you have the leadership that's stable in order to lead a campaign like this. So they turned down. They didn't even let the Rotary representatives into the room to discuss it. Well, just like COVID has not deterred us right now, Rotary didn't get deterred. That just became a challenge to Rotary. So Rotary said, well, how much will it cost to do this? And it was estimated it would cost $120 million in order to eradicate polio. So Rotary set off to raise $120 million. Didn't raise $120 million. They were told they couldn't do it. They were told if they got pledges for 120, they'd never collect it all. And they said, you definitely can't do it in 3 years. Well, guess what? Rotary showed them. Because see, Rotarians, when they make a promise, they keep their promise. They're dedicated. They're passionate. So Rotary raised $247 million. Well, now then the World Health Alliance and World Health Organization said, oh, wait a minute, this is a good idea. Maybe we can do this. So there became a partnership called the GPEI, Global Polio Eradication Initiative. Rotary is the founding partner. WHO, UNICEF, CDC. That became the 4 partners that started this organization in 1985. 1,000 cases a day. 125 countries around the world with wild polio virus. Started this program, ran out of the money, got governments of the world involved. They started contributing money. Excuse me, I got a little bit of sore throat. Continuing the drive, had another drive. 2003 had another drive. $85 million goal, raised $135 million, I think it was. Because Rotary was committed. Well, in 2007, there was an individual in November of 2007 named Bill Gates with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Said, we'll give you $100 million. You know, the interesting thing about that, the money was put into Rotary's bank. Rotary had no campaign organization. Rotary didn't have any money to match it with. But Bill Gates didn't ask for a match. He said, 2 conditions. Number 1, I want you to spend that money by December the 31st of 2008. Trust, confidence. Here's a man that's got more money than 8 countries in the entire world. that said, I trust Rotary. I believe in Rotary. I believe in this project they're doing. So one stipulation was we had to spend that money by December the 31st of 2008. Second stipulation, he wanted us to raise $100 million by June the 30th of 2010. So again, he believed that what Rotary was doing was correct and what it was needed to do to protect the children of the world. He knew there was a vaccine that was available, just as Rotary did. A vaccine that could be given by individual Rotarians and friends of Rotary, because they could put those 2 drops into a child's mouth. And I never will forget when James Bomar told me that when he was placing those first 2 drops in that little girl's mouth, that there was a tug on his pant leg. And he said he didn't want to look down because he's afraid he would spill that vaccine and how precious it was. But when he got through, he looked down and there was a crawler. You had pictures of crawlers a while ago. You had a lot of stuff going on with polio and a great pre-program committee work. He had his hands bent over, but he pulled on pant leg and he said, "Thank you, mister. That's my sister. She will not be crippled as I am." I have a picture downstairs that was given to me by some of my friends in the Philippines that shows this boy on crutches and the girl getting the vaccine. Heartwarming of what Rotary has done. Well, we started the campaign. We were about halfway through with that $100 million campaign, and they said, "We'll give you another 100 if you agree to raise another 100 by 2012. Well, what are you going to do? You going to say yes, or are you going to hide back and say, no, well, I'm not so sure, or whatever? Well, obviously we did it. And as you said, we ended up with 228.7, and we got 355 million out of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, because they gave us 50 million because we did it ahead of time. That's the type of partnership that we have with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Today, we have a partnership with them and have had ever since 2007. Our partnership today goes through 2023. And that is, if we raise or commit $50 million to the polio campaign, they'll give us 100. Well, even with the times that we're in, 2019 and 20, we actually raised $50.8 million. They gave us 100 million. And one of the beautiful things about this partnership is when they give us that $100 million in January as a wire transfer, it's Rotary's money to spend. It's Rotary that decides how to spend that money, where to spend that money, and we go through a grant process. WHO and UNICEF is the receivers of our funds. They have to submit to us, working with the countries in the world and the area regional officers, what the money is going to be used for, how's it going to be done, and they send us a request. We decide whether or not we do want to fund it or we don't want to fund it. Well, this year, even with COVID, the last quarter of the year, we raised $50.975 million. So once again, Rotarians stepped up to the plate and said, yes, we are committed to the eradication of polio. So where have we gone? We've made great strides. We all keep using this 99.9%, but as an engineer, you can stretch that decimal point out quite a bit. And we're a lot farther along than that, because if we go from 1,000 cases a day to right now, we got 130 cases in 2 countries. So we know we've come a long way. We know we've gone from 125 countries to 2 countries. So we've come a long way, even with disruptions, economic conditions. COVID, and everything else, we have accomplished a whole lot that we've done. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "The future belongs to those that believe in the beauty of their dreams." What a dream this was. What a dream to say that we have the ability to protect every child in the world from being crippled or dying from that vicious virus called polio. Well, you know, we continue to raise money, but it's not just the money. It's what that money can do. What has been done with that money? Right now, there's over 19 billion people, million people walking today that would not otherwise have been walking if it wasn't for Rotary and our partners and the work that's been done to eradicate polio. Nearly 3 billion children have been vaccinated because of Rotary and Rotary's efforts to lead this partnership and to work with it. You know, eradication is expensive. Here we started with $760,000. We thought it was going to be done for $120 million. Our annual budget is over $800 million per year. So a lot of people say, why is he spending $800 million a year when you're only down to 130 cases in 2 countries? Well, what has COVID done? COVID started in one location, and how has it affected the entire world? There's not a one of us at this meeting, we know friends all around that have been affected by COVID. They're dying because of COVID. Now, they're not being crippled, but they are dying. So polio can do the same thing. Polio can, in fact, be carried just like COVID is. It's a person to person. Now, COVID is by sputum and by breathing and atmospheric conditions. Well, we all know that polio gets into the digestive system and because of dirty water, poor sanitation, but it's still person to person that does that. COVID made us stop doing door-to-door vaccinations to safety. We have over 1 million healthcare workers out there delivering this vaccine. We had to stop the door-to-door. We had to stop any of the personal contact with people dropping that. We had to stop getting people at the airports and the train stations, which is a very common thing, border crossings. All of those things had to start, but they're back. They're back. Pakistan is back going door to door. Pakistan is back doing the campaigns, the national immunization teams. Afghanistan has started back. They're doing the sub-NIDs that they're doing right now. All of that thing is back in place, all because of Rotary, because of the persistence and the dedication and the commitment that has been made. Well, we got the vaccine, and let me share a couple of good news stories for you. For 10 years, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has been working on what we call the novel polio vaccine. It's the vaccine that when given to people will stop this herd immunity so that the people that are not receiving the vaccine can in fact be polio free and will eliminate a lot of these polio vaccine derived cases. Just yesterday, I learned that the WHO has put out an early license for this new oral vaccine. It's ready to go. So here it is, another step that we're trying to do to protect the children with this new vaccine. I also learned Michelle Zaffron, who was a head of the polio campaign for WHO, he retired. They brought him back, he retired again. Well, this time he stayed retired. He's a Rotarian. So what is he doing? He's back in his district as a polio fundraiser and polio advocate for Rotary in its work. We have a new individual there. His name is Adrian O'Leary. He used to be with UNICEF. He's very familiar with the operations of polio and Rotary and a strong supporter of what we're trying to do. So here's the continuation of those type things that's going on. But it's up to each of us. It's up to us to encourage districts to give 20% of their DDF. We didn't give money to sit in the bank account. Use it for educational, humanitarian grants. If you're not using it for that, give it to the eradication of polio. It is our #1 priority program. We can ask each club. We can have virtual fundraisers. Our district just put together, all because one person had an idea of making a donut, and it's made in the shape of a finger, just long like this. And they put purple icing on it to indicate a purple pinky. So we call it the purple pinky donut. They sell for $2. The distributor and franchise owner does the donuts for free. He started this program because he wanted to help and he thought he could do this very easily. First year, $50,000. This year, $1.2 million. After 3 years, he made 50,000 donuts. People didn't have to leave. They ordered them. They boxed them up for you. They gave you your Paul Harris credit for it, Polio Credit. The district matched that $2 with $2. The clubs matched part of it. That goes into Rotary. Rotary matches it. They match the it's almost a 9-to-1 match. Simple done. Having these world's meals. There's a club that had a virtual gala. Everybody dressed up, had wine and everything at their home. Didn't go out, had it at their home. And they paid as if they were going to go out for a fundraiser. Makes money. Wine tasting. There's things we can do if we just think about and think out of the box of what we can do. We can advocate. We can talk to people in our community. There's people in our community that are polio survivors. You had several polio survivors on the screen a few minutes ago. John Nanny, one of the great ones that has really traveled around talking about this. You've got them in your own area. Ezra's been down to Ethiopia several times to do that. And Hussey, she's going around the world talking about polio and showing, yes, polio survivors can make a difference too. They're dedicated because they feel the pain, they feel the need to protect those children out there. So let's advocate. You know, I've said that it is expensive. Let me give you some numbers that I think that might be able to be beneficial. You know, y'all have been supporting this polio campaign ever since the challenge started. 70/30 has been doing a great job with your DDF and your individual contributions. So I want to get you to continue to do that. But you know, we spent $28.5 million on vaccine. We don't think about that, but yet somebody's got to pay for it. $28.5 million. This is just this last year. We spent $21 million on detecting the virus, taking sewage samples, taking it to our surveillance labs that we have built with Rotary funds and our partners' funds. Those same labs were used for Ebola. They were used for SARS. Guess what? Those same labs are being used for COVID to test there. So we're leaving a history, a legacy of what can be done because of what Rotary has done and what you have done. We spent 36 million on raising awareness, telling people how important it is to get vaccinated. Sometimes we give vitamin A in these vaccinations. So think about the people that's not losing their eyesight because of what Rotary is involved in, what we've done and everything. 58.5 million getting the vaccine to the children, working through the Taliban, working all up across the rivers, using canoes, bicycles, donkeys, everything it takes to get out in these rural areas that we have to do. Yeah, we've made the progress. but we still got 130 more to go. And we'll get there. We'll make it. I said that the virus is resilient, but Rotarians are more resilient because we're not going to give up. We're going to continue this fight until there are no more cases of the wild polio virus. Bill Gates recently said, fighting a disease is like fighting fire. It's not enough to put out most of it. You have to get it all. Rotary's commitment to the polio eradication campaign is the initiative that will help us extinguish this terrible virus forever. Quite a statement from an individual. And let me tell you, he puts his money where his mouth is. He goes out and works, and he does it. So let me say that as the organization that started this campaign, as the organization that will finish this campaign with our partners, we must remain steadfast in our goal and continue to move forward. I want to thank you for your support. I want to thank you for what you've done in the past, what you're doing now, but more importantly, I want to thank you for your future endeavors so that we will protect every child just as we promised to do. So Lyle, thank you for letting me be with you today.
Thank you very much, Past President John. Pdg Milton, I'll invite you just to say a few words of thanks.
Thank you very much, Lara. Past RI President John, when we reached out to you to be a part of this event, you immediately said yes. And I want to thank you very much for that golden nugget. Indeed, I remember when you were chairman of the End Polio Now, the enthusiasm and the passion that you spoke of polio then and the campaign. And for those of you who have never heard John, I can safely say that that enthusiasm and passion has not dimmed over the years. You've spoken to us about the importance of partnerships, and we know only too well what Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have done, and indeed what a lot of the advocacy work that Rotary has done in getting governments on board to help with ending this campaign. And you've also touched on the importance of giving, and I'm saying here now as the currently RFC with the future Governor Chain. I know that Lyle and Lara and I have spoken about this, and as you said, this is something that this district has done for a long time in giving our 20% to the End Polio Now campaign. So I'm saying this for the benefit really of Sonia and Leslie, who are the future. That it is vitally important that we continue to contribute to the End Polio campaign to rid the world of this virus. Now, I know that you have a number of engagements today, but please feel free to stay on as long as you wish and as your schedule allows. But I also would like to say, for you, if you could please extend best wishes to your dear wife, Judy. Hopefully, as you said, at some time when all of this dreadful COVID-19 business is over, that we can actually meet face to face. And to both of you, please stay safe in this environment. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'll stay around for a while.
Thank you very much, Past President John, Pdg Milton. So we've talked a bit about polio, and we are actually going to come back to polio, but today's session is called Grants and Giving. So we have a presenter now who's going to talk about grants. What I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce both of our next speakers, just quickly read out their brief bios, and then Rita will speak, followed by Owen, and then of course we'll open the floor to any questions. So our next presenter is Rita Merkies Gruthusen. I probably pronounced that horribly, but you'll forgive me. Rita has a master's degree in law from Radboud University and is the managing director at WR Consulting BV. She is an experienced professional with a demonstrated history working in the financial services sector, skilled in anti-money laundering, anti-terrorist financing, regulatory matters, and business ethics. Sonia, I think she'd be a good stewardship chair for next year. We have an anti-money laundering professional in our Rotary family. Rita has been a member of the Rotary Club of Willemstad since 2004, where she served as president in 2014 and Interact advisor in 2016. She has been assistant governor for the ABC clubs on 3 occasions, is a member of the Literacy Rotary Action Group, and was instrumental in securing a global grant of $99,000 for a new mammograph for the Caribbean Prevention Center, which is what she's going to be sharing with us today. Rita is a sustaining member of the Rotary Foundation, a member of the Paul Harris Society, and a PHF +5. After Rita, we will be joined by Owen Standley, who I had the privilege and the pleasure of meeting when I served as the RI President's rep at a district conference in Rotary in Pennsylvania a couple of years ago. Owen is a member of the Rotary Club of Johnstown Sunset in District 7305, which is in Western Pennsylvania, and has been a Rotarian since 2011. Even though he's only 33 years old, Owen has served as club president, assistant governor, RILA chairperson, and also spearheaded a $44,000 global grant project to bring clean drinking water to an African community of 10,000 people who currently walk several miles a day to bottle dirty water. Owen has a diverse and eclectic resume. He has worked in insurance sales, hazardous waste disposal, home theatre design, garbage disposal, and teaching English as a second language. He has sung in barbershop quartets, performed in musical theatre, is a master gardener, been sewing for more than 15 years, and involved in many home projects. Owen is a smart and creative Rotarian, and today he's going to be sharing with us some insight into his unique End Polio Now fundraiser, Owen's Odyssey, where he will hike the Appalachian Trail in the spring of 2021. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome these 2 outstanding, innovative Rotarians to our forum today. And first of all, let's hear from Rita. So Rita, you need to make sure you've selected English, and we need to unmute you and then share your slides. You have to select English as your language for the translation. Yes? Okay, great.
Yes, you should now be able to hear me. Today I will give a presentation that will be quite hands-on and practical. And thank you, Pdg Lara, for your kind introduction. The agenda I have for today is as follows. We will start with the steps to take for the application, but also for what happens after you have secured a successful application. The thresholds for global grants, which has an impact on the review and to a certain extent on the controls that will be that are in place. The manpower within your club, the challenges and pitfalls. The challenges and pitfalls, some of them are a little bit overlapping, as you can imagine. At the end, I will give a short wrap up, and then there will be time for questions. The steps to take. First of all, is ensure your club is qualified. That should be very easy. In 70-30, the district is very keen on have all clubs qualified, so that's easy. You start off with reading the conditions of the Rotary Foundation, and these conditions are outlined in the guidelines that are available on the website of Rotary International under the tab of the Rotary Foundation. And then first of all, you then once you have read them and reread them, because they are very precise and there are a lot of conditions also hidden in the text, you need to select one of the areas of focus of Rotary International. If you have a project in mind outside the area of focus, then you will never get a successful grant. So make sure that it is within these areas of focus. You start then, once you have selected an area of focus, you perform a community assessment. The community assessment is the fundament for selecting ultimately your successful project. You identify a third party or more than one third party that will be able to work with you on your project. You will see what who the beneficiaries will be of your project. And very important, you will be able to see whether the project is sustainable or not. The project must be sustainable, which implies that the project should continue once Rotary or your club withdraws from the project, because Rotary will not continue with that project. It will stop at a certain point. As early as possible, look for an international partner. The international partner is a Rotary club outside your country. And it is always for funding very helpful if your partner is in another district. Start raising funds locally and internationally. You need to have at least 30% of the funding come from international sources, meaning outside your country. Start working online on the application form. You can work on it, stop, and then continue, because it gives a lot of guidance on what a successful project would be. And as we did, we completed and the whole application form once all conditions were met. So we had everything in place, and then we submitted the application, and that implied that it was that the approval time was relatively short, very short actually. The thresholds, because there are thresholds. The first is the 50,000. But at all thresholds, the 50,000, 200,000 and 400,000, the application form is subject to a thorough review by the Rotary Foundation. If they have questions, they come back to you, you have to answer them, and make sure you answer them quickly, not waiting for a month, but do it within 24 hours or 48 hours. If you go for a larger grant, say up to 200,000, then you will have an interim site visit from a technical cadre specialist. So that specialist will come in your country and will visit your project and see how you are doing, and will report back to the Rotary Foundation. If you go up to that, over 200,000, up to 400,000, then you will have also a project audit. You will have later in the project another site visit, plus your application must be approved by the trustees. And the trustees of the Rotary Foundation meets only once every quarter. So the approval process will be more lengthy. We were advised not to go over the 200,000, or it was at that time 100,000. So, and that's what we did, and we were very happy to do so, because the approval of the application came through very quickly. The manpower within your club, that is a very important part, because it is the application is a lengthy process. But also the project is running for 2, 3, maybe 4 years, it depends. And one of the things that you must be aware of is that 2 Rotarians must be signatories on the bank account. You need for your project a separate bank account, and you need 2 Rotarians on this bank account. So they need to be available and remain available. You need to keep your international partner informed, because your international partner is in fact monitoring your project, is monitoring what you are doing. They have indirectly vouched for you that you can do a successful project. So you have to inform them, which keeps time. It's managing a relationship. You need to report on a regular basis, meaning annually, to the Rotary Foundation, and you have to submit your financial information, documentary evidence of expenses, but also documents about your project, videos, pictures, memorandums, in short, everything that shows what you have done. Plus, in the lengthy report that you are making, you need to give answers to questions. Plus, you have to indicate what the results are of the project by filling in the key indicators. The key indicators were also mentioned in your application. So it's very important that you look also at your application and see what you have said, so that things are indeed going as planned. So you need for a longer period monitoring capabilities and evaluating. Having said this, then we come to the challenges, and as you can imagine, one of the challenges is a good community assessment, and that's really the foundation. Finding the international partner, that was for us the biggest hurdle. We found only an international partner at the very last moment, and almost all Rotary clubs we approached and we asked for it were not interested. They don't know the concept, they don't know what the responsibilities are, and they are scared, because if you do not a good job on your project, it will reflect negatively on your international partner. So Rotary clubs really want to stay away from this. Getting sufficient funding, particularly on the international side, because you need to have 30% of your total budget that must come from international sources, and you need to have the contacts. What turned out is that funding from international sources is in fact a very personal matter. It's either the donor is connected to your third party with whom you are working, because they have already been a donor for them and they want to fund, that project as a consequence thereof, or personal relationship, very personal relationships. Meeting fully the Rotary Foundation conditions, you really need to read and reread them, because the devil is in the details, I can tell you. Keeping your club focused and informed, because it is a lengthy process, the application and the running of the project. Your club will be accelerated that a grant has been secured, but then they will lose focus if you don't keep them updated. Writing a realistic application, look carefully at the key indicators. Look at the way you want to draft the application, because you need to give a real picture, but also in such a manner that the light is shining on the value and what you try to accomplish. And last but not least, and you will see that in the terms and conditions of the Rotary Foundation, good administration and documentation. The pitfalls, well, some of them are overlapping, as I said earlier. Time. It is time consuming. I have been working on this, and there have been days that I have been working the whole day on the application or on the reporting to the Rotary Foundation. Your club has to remain qualified. If you will have a visit from a technical cadre specialist, don't underestimate the importance of this visit, because it is a specialist coming from outside your country who is going to ask probing questions. And sometimes questions are raised that may feel uncomfortable in your country or are not done. But it happens, and these specialists can ask probing questions. It's a part of their work, but it is also, the reason why they come. So it is also, they keep also a distance from you. So the way Rotarians interact with each other does not apply to these specialists. So be aware of that. Make sure that they are meeting with the right people at the right level, and specifically people that know the area in which the project is done, about the topic, and that they are, you know, also endorsing your project. If you have surplus funds, we were able to raise more funds than we needed. And then the surplus funds require a new suitable project that supports the initial project. And for that new project or that subsequent project, you need to make a budget which has to be approved by the Rotary Foundation. It's a kind of, well, it's a part of the bureaucracy, but it makes sure, and that is a very good side of it, that the funding will be properly spent. The international partner finding it and at the same time keeping informed. Updating insufficiently the club, that's what I discussed, the manpower. And last, that is the last topic, that is the friction between expertise of your fellows and payment. Because we are living in small communities, so for certain services or goods, you may end up with a firm or a fellow that from whom you may need to buy goods or services. Be aware that that is a conflict of interest, so you really need to look at the policy of Rotary in that respect. In our project, Rotarians are not allowed to get paid. They have, if they do something for the project, it has to be for free. This was hopefully within the time frame, the information I would like to share with you. There is, of course, a lot more to say about it, but the most important thing is your community assessment, time available, your international partner, and manpower, because at some time, you know, the administration, all the tedious work that has to be done, it's not sexy. So, you know, people lost interest. And having said this, then I am now available for questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Rita. We're going to hear from Owen, and then we'll have all the questions at the end. I see that there's already a couple of comments on the chat, but it is now my pleasure and privilege to welcome Owen from Pennsylvania. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. I am from Pennsylvania, and I have with me to assist in all things at his presentation, my girlfriend, Miss Elanius. She is a carbon fiber ukulele, and she goes with me on my project. And like any good storytelling from 1970s television sitcoms, everything you need to know is laid out in the theme song. So if you'll bear with some of my horrible crooning. This is a story about a guy named O who wants to see humanity free of polio. In 2021, you can be part of this tale, raising funds as he hikes the Appalachian Trail. The green tunnel, that is. The Wild East. The AT. Polio, that's still a thing. Sad, but yes, it's true. For every dollar raised, Billy gives another 2,200 miles. Owens Odyssey, hike for polio, going down in history. The second human disease to be eradicated. How can this be done but with friends in Rotary? Folks from all around like a happy family. Service above self, that's the motto and the plan. Be sure to like and follow this charming Instagram. Yin's come back now, you hear. Thank you very much. I see some smiles and clapping. So my name is Owen, and if you didn't catch all of it in the song, I am planning to hike the Appalachian Trail, which is a recreational outdoor hiking trail in the good old US of A, and that goes geographically from northern Georgia all the way to Maine, not terribly far from Canada. And it's approximately 2,200 miles, and I'm going to be hiking all of it in the name of polio awareness and polio fundraising and you know, reach for the stars because you might land on the moon, one of those cliches. So I just picked a number for $100,000. And so far, I know that there's a couple checks that are still waiting to be processed, but they have been mailed. And once all that money gets tallied up, I so far have raised over $10,000 just by spreading the word at my district and doing a little bit of plugging away on social media, on my social media account. I'm fairly young, you know, 33, and I have a functioning back and legs, and you only get to live once. I don't know how many of you have listened to the Hamilton Broadway musical soundtrack, but I know that I have a hard time getting through without just being a weeping, sobbing mess. And I take to heart, you know, who lives, who dies, who tells your story, not throwing away my shot. Pick any line from the musical. It's a great show, and I take it very seriously. What kind of legacy do we leave behind? And as much as I might care about things like the environment or racial inequity, I know that within my small mortal life, that in drawing attention to polio eradication, that we can close the gap. And in my lifetime, I can see a substantial permanent change in the world, that we can bring about the end of polio. And that's why I have selected that as my cause, because I'll meet people and they're like, do you have anyone in your family that's afflicted with polio, or it's, you know, been in your family? And I'm like, not particularly. Really, it's an exercise in growing my bandwidth of empathy for other people. Just because I haven't been personally affected by it doesn't mean we shouldn't care. We have the means. It's out there, it's possible. We have a plan. It's just following through and seeing to the end that this disease doesn't have to take away either a child's ability to be mobile or even their life. So that's why I want to see to it that the world is a slightly less darker place tomorrow. As far as this project, about a year ago, it was just one of those whims. Maybe it was divine intervention. It just seed planted in my head, and I was like, "This sounds like a good idea." And I didn't do much hiking a year ago. Truth be told, I have been a garbage man. I've done camping. I've done a lot of stuff that has left me in a situation that I'm not afraid of challenging circumstances. And so I learned a lot. I've been doing research. I've been out gathering supplies and experience. To date, I've successfully completed what is called a through hike. That's where you go from one end of the trail all the way to the other end. Typically a very long hiking trail. So very close by to me is called the Laurel Highlands Hiking Trail, and it's 70 miles. And the first time I ever did it, I did it alone, and I did it in 52.5 hours. Just over 2 days, I completed 70 miles, and I had everything I needed on my person. All my food and water filtration and miscellaneous came with me. Most recently, 1 week ago, I did the same trail again. I took a friend with me. I've participated in ultra marathons where we did 32 miles in a 12.5-hour window. That one was rough because that was on like an actual biking trail, so it felt like asphalt. So my quads were very sore and tender, because when you're out in the mountains doing hiking, you get to change up your muscle groups, and there's different elevations and rocks and roots. And when you're on one of those exercise rails to trails type paths, it's unrelenting all day. It's like hamburger meat just crushed on the bottoms of your feet and on your quads. But I knew whenever I designed this, because I've had many fanciful ideas that involve travel and helping small communities and engaging with Rotary, I made sure to plan this to strip it down so that there are as few interferences as possible. And so with that, as much as I love my wife near and dear, she's not very outdoorsy. So I wrote this plan where she's not specifically written into this. If she doesn't want to do it, I'm not making her. And of course, she's going to meet up with me for a couple visits, but she's not tagging along for the actual hike. I'm doing this where I am not financially dependent on anybody. I am not financially wealthy or independently wealthy. As you can see, I teach children in China how to speak English as a second language as my primary means of income, but I picked up another job. For over a year now, I've been working as a waiter at Applebee's. It's a family style sit down restaurant, and I do fairly well for myself. Some of you may see I have a glowing, charming personality that can translate well at a table side. And so I've been able to hit my financial benchmarks for what I need to do so that while I'm away, my home related expenses are covered. My on the trail expenses are covered. The cost of gear is covered. I'm paying for all that with my Applebee's money. But at the same time, if anybody out there wants to be a sponsor and help me get, you know, maybe a Fitbit watch so we can count how many steps I'm doing while I'm out there, or maybe a GoPro camera so that, you know, we can have some fun action shots, me walking around playing miscellaneous, and who knows, every time I do those videos, I can broadcast, you know, the name of your business for every video. But all the same, it's one of those once in a lifetime opportunities, and I'm still young, and I put a lot of stock into a good story rather than things. You know, who lives, who dies, who tells your story? And I love telling good stories and having a story to share. So that's why I'm doing this. And I invite everyone to vicariously live out the hike. Please follow the hike. There are many ways that you can participate or contribute. I have an official website. It is hike4polio.org, and that's F-O-R, hike4polio.org. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. And on the website, I have some blog updates. I have photo albums. Whenever I go out and do hikes and I take tons of pictures, I just select the pictures in the camera roll and I put them all into a photo album. So it's pretty much unfiltered from the website into folders from Google. I also have a donate button on the website, which is tied to Raise for Rotary. It's the actual formal Raise for Rotary platform, which is new, that is developed by Rotary International. It is great. I have also been assisting them with kind of giving them some suggestions, because it is very new, on how we can better improve the process and the user functionality. So with Raise for Rotary, anybody, Rotarians or otherwise, can electronically make contributions. It will all get the Polio Plus. It'll show up under my little banner that Owens Odyssey has raised X amount of dollars, and it all reaches the Bill and Melinda Gates 2-to-1 match. If you do social media, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I use the handle @hike4polio. I try to stay consistent. You can follow me there. I post pictures. I do live stream video. I find it, if people are not donating money, possibly the most important thing they could be doing is following and liking the content that I post there. Because the more people that do that, the more likely that I will be picked up by other news outlets. I would love to be interviewed by Terry Gross on NPR. I'm a big NPR listener. And there's a show on YouTube called Hot Ones. And it is the interview program with hot questions and even hotter wings. You may have stumbled across this show. It's where people are eating hot wings. These are like dangerously hot. Like they have paramedics on standby. I don't like hot and spicy food, nor am I a Hollywood celebrity, but I think I have an eclectic enough background and an interesting project that I could fill 25 minutes, and I'm willing to compromise my gastrointestinal system for the cause of raising money for polio eradication. So if enough people are following on social media, collectively, we can very politely harass the people that run Hot Ones, the interview program, so that we can keep knocking on their door and say, put Owen on your show, put Owen on your show. And with COVID and social distancing, they've been conducting a lot of their interviews over Zoom. So it's easy enough for them to send me a care package of hot sauces and I can just eat in my own house and destroy my own bathroom. So anyway, I feel I've successfully filled time as far as explaining what I'm doing, giving you a small insight to the unchecked mental health issues I might be sorting through. And this spring is going to be pretty cool. And I really look forward to having you follow the story as it unfolds.
Thank you so much, Owen. And I think we'll be watching you hike the Appalachian from the comfort of our living rooms.
Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty horrendous journey, but good luck to you. And I want to just pick up on something you said about raise.rotary.org, which is a fantastic platform. Patty has shared the links in our chat box, so definitely go and, you know, give Owen $5, $10, support his hike for polio, but also take a look at the platform, because it is a brand new endeavor by Rotary that gives clubs and individuals opportunities to promote their own fundraisers. So if you decide you're going to have a Purple Pinky Donut fundraiser in your club or in your country, in your community, you can get global support. As I say, even if it's friends and family giving you $1, you know, you get 10,000 people to give you $1, then it's all money for polio and for our foundation. Owen, I just have a quick question for you. When do you start and how long is it going to take?
So I today settled on March 9th. I have some other commitments that are butting up to that. So I'm going to start on March 9th. And because of COVID, I'm going to try to make this what is called a sub 100 day, which means I'm going to attempt to do this in 100 days or less. It takes the average hiker 6 to 8 months, but they are also kind of taking their time and laissez-faire and, oh, I feel I've done enough work today and I'll, you know, set up camp wherever it is I am. No, I'm more direct and with an objective. And it's like, no, we got places to be, things to do, crunching, getting the time in. And so on minimum, it's about 22 miles every day for 100 days. But if I'm going to be accounting for doing presentations for Rotary clubs or bad weather or the time it takes to resupply and get new food and maybe a shower, then I'm going to need to be doing 25 to 28 miles a day.
Wow.
But I'm trying to coordinate with the right people up and down the, you know, the regions so that the clubs can decide if they want to contribute or participate in any way. I'm really hopeful that in the Atlanta area, we can do a big send-off. And if we're able to do that, I never thought that I'd have this opportunity, but past President John Germ, if you are available and we have a send-off party, I would love if you could attend a send-off party in the Atlanta area. So we'll keep you abreast if something like that formulates.
That's fantastic. You know, many of us live on islands where you can't even drive 22 miles. So for you to walk 22 miles a day is pretty amazing. So good luck from everybody in District 7030, Owen. We're going to be following you and so excited to see how you get on. Giselle asked a question to Rita, whether the international partner could be non-Rotary, for example, another NGO with a similar focus. But I see that Rita answered her and confirmed, for those of you that are not looking at the chat, that the international partner for a global grant must be another Rotary club. And I know, as you mentioned, Rita, that is a big part of the challenge.
Yeah.
So do you want to just share with us very quickly, we don't have a lot of time, on how you found your international partner and any tips on that element of the global grant?
It was really a personal matter. It was I think it for us it came out of the blue, and it was a very surprising one. It was a new Rotary club in Jamaica. And it was, but what I have guessed is that it was all a personal relationship with the president and Rotarians in Jamaica. So it was a relationship Rotarian to Rotarian, and that was also with all the funding we have received. It was a personal relationship with the partner we did. We did the project, and that got the mammograph. But it was also a personal relationship that I had built up. It was a personal relationship of the fundraiser we had, because it was a combination of a Rotary Club Willemstad and Rotary Club Curaçao. And the fundraising was done by the Curaçao Club, and we did the whole application and everything that goes with that. So it was all personal, and that is specifically for the internet. It was the last thing we were missing, and it got, we got it on time. We were very happy with it.
Thank you very much. And as
I have another thing that I need to make a correction, and I will send you the updated slides. Renee told me that, or in the private chat, that now the international funding is reduced to 15%, which is very, very welcome. So I'm sorry that I still said 30%. I had checked it, but apparently not good enough. My apologies for that. It's 15%, which is great news. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we'll update the slides and make sure that they're posted on the website. So just a couple of comments in the chat that Conrad has indicated that it can be more than one club. Of course, a global grant can be multiple clubs, and it's important to connect with the district. DDF is also an option. So I know that we're running out of time, and there's probably a lot more questions about global grants. And I know Milton is available to answer questions. Rita, we can share your email as well for clubs that do want to think about a global grant and may have questions or concerns, because you've obviously been successful. And I do want to encourage everybody again to support Owens Hike for Polio, because that's a creative and amazing way. Maybe you could do a hike in your country, up and down your stairs, up and down the hill that you live on. We don't have Appalachian trails where we live, but you know, we have some mountains and forests and rivers and streams. So I'm going to pass it over to Pdg Milton. I'm very aware of the time, and I know we're a little running over, to officially close us off with a vote of thanks. Pdg Milton.
Thank you, Pdg Lara. And also from Grant's point of view, it can be multi-district as well, not just multi-club. But just to bring the session to a close, first of all, let me thank Assistant Governor Rita. First of all, for filling the breach, as it were. We had to ask Rita. We were, as you all know, the original, we were to have someone else speak on grants, and unfortunately became unavailable. And so we asked Rita to present what is actually a wonderful project. I believe it's one of the biggest global grants that we have had in this district. And I remember when it was being conceived a few years ago. And since then, because of COVID, incidentally, they had some money left over, and they came up with some an alternative way to deal with this cash, which of course they had to get Rotary's approval to do, which they got. And I asked her today, because I'm very much looking forward to the successful completion of this project. And she said to me by the 30th of June next year. So District Governor Lai, just as you're about to hand over, Rita says she's going to be complete. So we very much look forward to that, Rita. And thank you. Thank you for being perhaps one of the shining examples of what global grants and partnerships, as past President John has been saying, in making sure that it happens. And hopefully with that, we can get more clubs to be involved as we talk about grants and the success of grants and so on. So thank you very much. Past President Owen, well, it certainly was a unique presentation, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I mean, you clearly have a lot of spirit, certainly passion, resolve, drive, and talent as well. And all I can say is it's on behalf of this district, thank you for what you're doing. And indeed, on behalf of your part of Rotary, but from this district, thank you for what you're doing for raising funds for ending polio. And I hope, as Laura says, that most of us will be following you online in your odyssey. And I wish you all the best. And please keep in contact with our district, and hopefully, who knows, maybe we could have a global grant together with your club or your district and our district. This is what can happen in Rotary and what it's all about. So I want to thank you for that as well. I'd also like to thank, I mean, Lyle has said it, but for Patty, and without Patty, a lot of these seminars and events that we have would not run as smoothly as they do. So for Patty, and his team, thank you ever so much. And I'd also like to say thank you to Pdg Lara, who's done a lot of the heavy lifting in arranging this event. So thanks, Lara, for that. And for all of the Rotarians and the PDGs that I see online, thank you for your attendance. And I hope that we will all have a very pleasant afternoon and evening. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Milton. Thanks again, everyone. So stay safe, wear your masks, and follow Hike for Polio. See you soon.